What's going on, people? Welcome back to Curtis Shaw TV, back with another live stream. And today, on this Tuesday, a little bit more. Well, I was relaxed yesterday, but it was a calm meltdown yesterday. As 10 minutes before I was going live, the news came out that Eddie Nketiah's move to Marseille had collapsed, and that sort of changed the direction a little bit. We had to. It became a little mini Arsenal therapy session, but hey, it is what it is. We're back. It's Tuesday. It's a new day, and we are now only Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, like 3.5 days away from the Premier League season starting, and it's crazy. I always wonder sometimes, what is it like supporting other clubs, because Arsenal are one of the only clubs that even during the transfer window, you feel somewhat like, the transfer window is supposed to be exciting and, who are we going to sign? And we're going to get rid of the deadwood and we're going to bring in top quality players. And then, with Arsenal, you're like, what is going off? If I would have told you guys at the end of last season, we will be sitting here on the 13th of August and we've only signed one player and we've sold one player and loaned out two others, one with an option to buy in Lokonga and one with an obligation in Tavares, you would say, nah, no chance. You must have sold more players than that, and you must have brought more players than that. But hey, it is what it is. There are still a few weeks left of the window, and we need to get the business done, man. Because Edu, honestly, bro, I've been patient with him because he was an invincible, but right now, he's under the spotlight, man. He needs to show us what he's about. Otherwise, there's problems. Big up to everyone locked in. Make sure you hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. We're close to 80k. We should hit that hopefully by the end of this week. And then let's hit 100k before the end of the year, people. In terms of yesterday, the focus of the show was Eddie Nketiah. The move to Marseille collapsed. Arsenal messed up, rejected the 27 million. Asked for 30 million. Marseille said no. They went and signed somebody else and said that deal is off. Then we heard the news last night. Came from TalkSport. Sky Sports ran with it as well. That Bournemouth are interested in Eddie Nketiah. Now, big up Salman in the chat who's just said it. And listen, I don't know the ins and outs of this deal. Fabrizio tweeted it. Bournemouth have now added Eddie Nketiah to their list of options to replace Dominic Solanke. Solanke has gone to Tottenham. Initial talks took place after the bid was rejected today by Porto for Evan Nielsen. Marseille deal for Nketiah is completely off after they signed Eli Wahi from Lens. Bournemouth were going for Evan Nielsen, Brazilian striker, played against Arsenal last year for Porto in the Champions League. The offer was rejected for him, and apparently Porto don't want to sell him. Nottingham Forest also had an offer rejected. So they've now put Eddie on a potential list of replacements. And the crazy thing is that Bournemouth apparently, the story says Bournemouth are maybe willing to pay about £20 million for him. Arsenal want around £25 million for him, which is crazy because Marseille offered 27 million euros, which was £23 million, but now Bournemouth might offer 20. I think a few years ago, I remember Kieran Gibbs when he played for Arsenal, and West Brom offered around 11 or 12 million for him. We rejected it and then went back later on in the window and sold him for 7 million. It feels like that. And I had, Salman's comment was right. I almost think, and listen, I could be completely wrong with this. I'm not actually sure Eddie Nketiah would go to Bournemouth. I could be totally wrong. Eddie might be sitting there going, South Coast, nice part of the country to live, first team football. They play good football, and it's Premier League football for him. I just have this impression with Eddie that he wouldn't go to Bournemouth. I think Eddie, in his mind, sees himself at a certain level. Marseille are arguably the biggest football club in France. They're the only French team that's ever won the Champions League. I think, Marseille, big stadium, big support, European football. I think he would have gone there. Bournemouth, I would be surprised if Eddie actually went there. And like Jake says, Bournemouth could quite easily get relegated this season. He could be in the Championship in 12 months' time. Like, they're not a team that I look at and think, oh, yeah, you'll be in the Premier League for the next 5 years. Bournemouth, they stayed up last year, but Solanke scored nearly 20 goals. Without those 20 goals, would they, they would be in a relegation battle? I don't know. Crystal Palace were linked with him before, but Mateta's form has been excellent. So maybe they're not so interested in him. I'm not sure. Do you guys think Eddie would go to Bournemouth? Also, £100,000 a week. Do Bournemouth pay those wages? I don't know. I mean, I haven't looked at Bournemouth's wage structure, but that is huge money for Bournemouth. When you look at their stadium. I mean, I'm looking on Sport Rack now, which shows you that the contracts. The highest paid player at Bournemouth is £80,000 a week, Justin Kluivert. After that, Sinisterra at 65. So 80 grand is their highest paid player. Are they going to make Eddie the highest paid player at the club? It's an interesting one. I'm not sure. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. George said he could still go Marseille. Moukoko deal might collapse. That's interesting. I did see that, but Fabrizio tweeted still. I don't know. Moukoko was a loan with an option to buy. Where Wahi was, they've paid for him now. Maybe they could take Eddie on loan with an obligation to buy in the summer. I'm not sure. The way Fabrizio has written it as if Wahi stops Eddie going there. So we'll have to see. Let's hope they come back. House of Dubs, first message on my 45th birthday, sir. Been watching long enough to appreciate the progress. Peace and love, respect from Dan Crouchen. Big up, bro. Happy birthday. Appreciate you tuning in and throwing in the message. And big up all the silent listeners. There are a lot of people who say, look, I watch all the time. I don't comment. I'm in the background. So big up all the silent listeners. And obviously big up everyone who's active in the comments as well. Big up Matt Southern Gooner. Go and subscribe to his channel. He said, this is a textbook example of why sometimes you leave instead of taking the money to further your career, especially if you know you aren't about that life. Edu has overplayed his hand with this deal. Now, yesterday, and big up Leigh, who said I was a silent listener for over a year. Come on, man. Come to the forefront, people. It's a safe space. Get the comments in. And with what Matt was saying there, I tweeted yesterday Arsenal should have taken the 27 million. And when we got the offer, I tweeted it as well, just so people don't think this is revisionism and I'm trying to sound smart after the event. I said at the time I would have bitten Marseille's hand off for 27 million euros, which is 23 million pounds. People are going, oh, but you're now saying that Arsenal should have took 27 million, but then you say that Arsenal should demand more money for players when they sell them. No, you also have to be realistic about what a player is worth and how much you need to offload that player. So Arsenal tried to squeeze a few more million. 3 million more euros is what Arsenal wanted, which is just over £2 million. You've cost yourself that deal. It wasn't worth the risk. I said at the time they've paid 30 million euros for Greenwood, and Greenwood is better than Nketiah. So they're not going to pay more money for Eddie than they paid for Mason Greenwood. It was stupid of Arsenal to push them so far that the deal's collapsed. They should have got the deal done. Also, he's on £100,000 a week, and we need that off the wage bill. And the other crazy thing, we need to buy a new striker, and Eddie being at the club potentially stops us from buying another striker because we have 3 strikers, all on big wages. So we really needed to get rid of Eddie to allow us to progress forward. It's as simple as that. And Leigh, you're right. We don't know the terms that Marseille offered the 27 million. These teams tend to lowball, and they do. They do, unfortunately. Big up Obrin, who said, long-term listener, first-time commenting, been here since the pandemic days. Love the work, bro. Was going to look for you at the game on Wednesday, but old man wanted to go home. Clarence, big up, bro. Big up. See, we got a few first-time commenters today, people. But yeah, big up yourself. Remember Ainsley Maitland-Niles to Wolves, £20 million offer. And in the end, we ran down his contract. So, listen, it is difficult. And look, not Bournemouth, Marseille could have lowballed us. But I think sometimes you've got to look at the bigger picture, and we need to move forward. This window, for me, is one of the biggest transfer windows. In fact, you could argue this is the biggest transfer window of the last 20 years. Because the reality is, I don't think we've been as close to being this good for a long time. To me, we're two top quality first team players away from probably winning the league. Depending on what Manchester City do. Manchester City at the end of the window could just go, I don't know, Kimmich and Osimhen, and all of a sudden I'm going, actually, we're 4 players away. But at this moment right now, I think we are a top quality centre midfielder and a top quality striker. Yes, we need a right winger to challenge with Saka, and maybe we'll need a goalkeeper if Aaron Ramsdale goes. But we're that close, and that's what's so frustrating. We have got to get it done in this window. That means selling players to enable us to buy players. So let's see what happens with Eddie Nketiah. Let's see what happens. Hopefully he goes to Bournemouth. Maybe Marseille come back now the Moukoko deal's collapsed. Cooper said 30 million for Tony. Get him to the carpet. You know my thoughts on Tony, and we are going to talk about him in this show. So big up Cooper. Tommy said, Big C, did you check out Anfield Agenda video of a guy doing Scooby-Doo song on Zubimendi only to realise he's rejected the offer and he's getting targeted by Arsenal? 2 stories came out last night. Zubimendi obviously has rejected Liverpool at the last minute. I did see that video. Great banter. That's what YouTube is about. One story says that Real Madrid have tapped him up and said, don't go to Liverpool. Luka Modric will leave in 12 months' time and you will come to Real Madrid. The other story said that Arsenal have said Marino's coming and you come to us next year. Which one do you more believe? The state I'm in at the moment with the way we're doing transfers is more likely to be the Real Madrid one. But yeah, Zubimendi done a U-turn on them at the last minute. Which I'll be honest, and I apologise to Liverpool fans. Well, I kind of don't apologise, but it was very funny. Because there was a lot of Liverpool fans talking smack online. Oh, he rejected Arsenal. He rejected Man United. He rejected Barcelona, but he's coming to Liverpool. Actually, he probably used Liverpool to get that new contract at Real Sociedad. So, hey, it is what it is. That's the way the game goes sometimes. Never get carried away with players coming to your football club until you see them holding up the shirt. It was those mountains in Spain, man. He couldn't leave them. Probably end up at Real Madrid. To be honest. They've probably tapped him up and said, Modric goes, you come here. He loves Spain. The Prem isn't for all players. Listen, I've always said this. The Premier League, in my opinion, is the most exciting league in the world. Exciting because bottom teams can beat the top teams. A lot of the time that doesn't happen in other divisions. Those teams get annihilated because the money is not spread the way that it is in the Premier League. Teams at the bottom of the Premier League, they can spend dough if they have to. Look at teams like, let's just say Nottingham Forest, for example. They bought Gibbs White for £42 million. Nottingham Forest. And when you look at Forest Premier League table last season, they finished one place above the relegation zone. They signed a player for £42 million. That would just not happen in Spain, in Italy, in Germany. But I always say we have to have this understanding that if we name the best players of the last 10 or 15 years, a lot of them didn't play in the Premier League, or if they did, they left to go to La Liga or the Serie A back in the day. R9 Ronaldo never touched this league. Neymar's never touched the league. Ronaldinho, even if you go years back, the likes of Maradona and Pele, Cruyff, they never came to England. Messi never came. A lot of these top players, they never touched England because the cold weather, you don't get winter breaks, you have to train at Christmas. La Liga is probably viewed as the highest level of football in the world because of the way they keep the ball. It's as simple as that. That is the technical league. And you've seen the dominance of Real Madrid and Barcelona. Zidane, another one. These guys never touched the Prem. They didn't even seem interested in the Prem. So as much as, we get wrapped up in this Premier League bubble, it's so great and exciting, which I think excitement-wise it is. I still think people consider La Liga the highest level of football. they know they wouldn't perform. Maybe the physical nature of the league. Maybe people don't like that as well. So it is a lot different, but definitely exciting. That's for sure. Right, I really wanted to restore the mood. Look at the Euros, passion v technical ability in the final. Exactly. But yeah, man. Right. Anyway, let's move on. I'm trying to uplift the mood. Omar said, Big C straight out of Jamaica. Those players didn't play in the Prem because of the taxes. That's another good point. Pay huge tax in England. You get a lot more money you play in La Liga in Italy. Let's talk Mikel Merino. Wow, this one. I boarded a flight from Philadelphia to Heathrow, and I said, this guy possibly will play for Arsenal in one of their friendlies at the Emirates, whether it's the Leverkusen or the Lyon one. And yet here we are 3 days before the final. This guy is nowhere near an Arsenal player. In fact, Miguel Delaney, who's done a long story on this today, because every Arsenal fan feels like they're in the dock. What is going on with Mikel Merino? Why is he not an Arsenal player? Everybody, including Fabrizio, saying the player wants to join Arsenal. It's done. Clubs are not even making offers to sign him because they're so confident he's going to end up an Arsenal player. However, Miguel Delaney comes out today with a long article and he says Arsenal and Real Sociedad are still some way apart over the structure and the amount of the deal on Mikel Merino's proposed transfer. Sociedad are holding out for 35 million euros, while Arsenal have been aiming to pay closer to 25 million euros. Now, let's get this in pounds. I like to deal with pounds, not euros. So 25 million euros, which is what we're offering, is 21 million pounds. And 35 million euros is around 29 million pounds. So we're around 7-8 million pounds away from getting that deal done. 7 or 8 million pounds, which is peanuts in the modern game, people. 7 million. A player, midfielder that you've identified, left foot, you can put him next to Rice. You believe this guy can help take you to the next level. You're haggling over 7 million pounds to get this deal done. And this deal's been going on for weeks. Even in LA, they were talking about Mikel Merino. That was weeks ago. So over these weeks, you haven't managed to figure out 7 or 8 million pounds. And there'll be people in the comments after this who'll say, oh, you're being negative. This is how transfers work. No, it only seems to be how transfers work at Arsenal. You get the deal done. You want the player. You've identified him. Listen, we started off this window talking about Bruno Guimaraes. We thought we might pay the £80 million release clause for him. You're talking about a guy, they want £29 million for him. That is peanuts. That is less than we paid for Fabio Vieira, who, no disrespect, has been pretty useless since being at this football club. This is a guy that's probably going to start in our first team, and you won't pay £29 million. And also, by the way, if you read this, it's the structure of the amount of the deal. Now, when we go into more detail, and I will show you the next part of it as well, because I want you to see everything that they're writing here. It's so frustrating being an Arsenal fan when it comes to transfers. The part 2 said, while Merino wants to go, everything is seen as clear on his side. Arsenal have been enduring slow negotiations over both the price and the paid instalments. Arsenal would prefer to spread any agreed fee over 3 years, whereas Sociedad want much more up front. So, listen, I just want to say one thing. Spreading payments over a number of years is not something that doesn't happen. That does happen on a regular basis. Unless there's a release clause and maybe you have to pay nearly all of it up front. So I've got no problem with that. But they obviously want more of the money up front because they want to reinvest quickly in other players to try and replace him. It's understandable. It's actually not a large amount of money in the modern game for a top club, is it? You know, there's guys getting bought for 70, 80 million in this window. You look at Alvarez, just gone for £83 million. I worry for Arsenal if we're in a situation where we've identified a player who's going to cost £29 million and we're haggling and struggling to get this deal done. And it's taken us weeks to get this deal done as well. I just honestly, and like I said, there'll be people in the comments going, "This is how transfers works. It isn't Football Manager." I'm sorry, if we can't get a £29 million deal done quickly, something is fundamentally wrong at this football club when it comes to transfer negotiations. And as I said yesterday, I'm looking at Edu right now and saying, what on earth is going on? Why are we moving like paupers, people? Why is it always Klarna, layaway, PayPal? Just pay the money. This football club just had one of their biggest tours ever. $200-300 a ticket. They're bringing out multiple kits. I don't get it. I'm starting to think Arsenal are in a situation where we have to sell to buy. And I know they've denied that story all summer. But we only seem to get Calafiori done once Emile Smith-Rowe went to Fulham. Now it kind of feels like Merino's been delayed because we haven't sold Eddie Nketiah. And that's what it feels like to me. It feels like once a player gets sold, we can then spend that money on someone else. But drop Kai money to Chelsea, no problem. Listen, I wouldn't be surprised if Chelsea did something for us years ago that has caused us to buy their players over the years. But hey, that's a story for another day. Frustrating. I'm sitting here going, listen, I want a striker for 70, 80 million. We're struggling to get a £29 million deal done. What happened to get back in the Champions League, we'll sign world-class players. And we're struggling to just sign decent players. Listen, I think the deal will get done, but it's frustrating. He's been back in training for a week or two. It would have been nice to have got him in training, and had him ready for the first game of the season. So we'll have to see, but it is frustrating. What do you guys think in the comments? Brian, thank you for the super chat, bro. Why are we nickeling and diming now? Where was this energy when we were ripping up contracts left and right for behaviour problems? Bro, eventually, those things come back and bite you. It looks good at the time, and you can high-five each other in the All or Nothing documentary. But that comes back to bite you, bro. Because the reality is, no matter what we think about these players, Aubameyang with a year left on his deal should be going for a transfer fee in a market where the strikers are poor. Your Ozils, your Socrates, your Kolasinac. Kolasinac went to Atalanta and won the Europa League. Now, I don't rate Kolasinac at all. But those guys should be rolling out the door for Kolasinac 5 million, Aubameyang 12 million, Mesut Ozil 5-6 million. Aaron Ramsey left the football club for nothing when he was probably a £40 million player at the time. Those deals will come back and bite you on the backside, people. At the time, you might think, oh, well, getting 7 million for Kolasinac, but if there's 8 or 9 of those deals, as a club, you might have missed out on 70, 80, 90 million on the players you didn't even want. But instead of selling Aubameyang, we've paid him to walk out the door. So now, I think, this is my opinion, I have no inside info on this. I'm just looking at what's going on at the football club. I think 2 seasons ago, when we didn't win the league, when we were 8 points clear, I think Arteta went to that board and said, you've got to give me the biggest transfer window ever. We've got to go big. And I think they said, okay, we'll do it. Last summer, we spent over £200 million. Rice, Havertz, Timber, David Raya. We spent over 200 million. And we didn't move forward in terms of the position in the league. And we didn't win any trophies or get to any finals. I think that ownership have turned around to him and said, listen, multiple years of not selling players, the wage bill going up, 200 plus million spent last year, you have got to sell players. We sat there at the end of last season and we said, when we did buy, sell or loan, we said this football club's got to raise 100 million in player sales this summer. And we said it should be quite easy. If you sell Ramsdale, you sell Nketiah, you sell Smith Rowe, you sell Fabio Vieira, you sell Nelson, you sell a couple of fringe players like Tavares, you'll make £100 million easily. Ramsdale's 30 mil plus. Get your 20, 25 for Eddie. You're already above 50 million. You get your 34 that we got for Smith Rowe. You're up in the 80s. You get 20 million, 15 million maybe for Nelson. I'm already above 100 million. And Tavares has gone, and you might get rid of somebody else. Over 100 million. At this time, we're sitting here with 34 million from Smith Rowe, and we've got an obligation to buy next summer on Tavares. So we've made less than 40 million. Or around 40 million because Bearif went for 4 million as well. So we've made about 40 million pound when we should have made 100 to 120. So I think the club have pulled the strings back and said, listen, you ain't buying these players until you sell people. So that's my opinion. I could be wrong, but I don't see why we're haggling so much over a 29 million pound player. You know what I mean? I don't get it. White Glove said, how are we so broke? This is jokes. You're seeing West Ham. Fulkrug from Dortmund, Champions League finalists. In the door. Wan-Bissaka, in the door. They've signed Somerville. West Ham are spending money. Clubs smaller than us are spending more money than us. How? We were in the Champions League last year. Made nearly 100 million from Champions League. So we'll have to see. I suppose all we can do is be patient until the end of the month. But it's so frustrating. It really is. Todibo as well going to West Ham. Another one. If that's the case, the Eddie situation even more baffles me. Yeah, you couldn't risk it. You needed to sell him. Clement, there's definitely something financially wrong when it comes to the transfer strategy at this club, in which we can't even sell below average players or even quick enough to sign players. Exactly. Chelsea have signed Neto, which for me is a player we should have been all over that deal, but I just don't think we could have paid the money. Is it because of FFP, as Owen said? Maybe. Maybe. We've spent a lot more than we've sold. Man U is spending and there's no guarantees. How is C-Unit so calm? Bro, it's the summer. The season hasn't started. You can't let them ruin your summer, bro. That's where I'm at with it. Stay calm. I'm having calm streams. Even yesterday, it was a bit of a meltdown, but it was calm. It was, there was plenty of jokes. There was no shouting. I'm staying calm. Enjoy your summer, people. But yeah, as White Glove said, how are we so broke? White Glove also said, all the clubs in Europe bully us in the market and fans worship Edu's barbecue. Embarrassing. Also, the club's fans overvalue our talent like mad. Yeah. I get it, as a fan, you're going to hype up your own players, but also be realistic. We're definitely not calm inside. We're fuming. But the sad thing is we're used to it as Arsenal fans. As E. Ross said, calm equals numb. We're used to it, people. You get to the summer, we'll be linked with players. We probably won't get them, and then, but we'll see. Prediction stream, we'll do that on Friday. Friday, we'll do prediction stream. We'll launch Fantasy Football League on Friday as well. We'll do one or two other things. Hopefully get a show with Turkish this week on his channel, OGs. I'm on Talking Transfers on Thursday on AFTV. We're going to do a member stream this week as well. So we're going to do a lot of content this week. Ben said, Big C, is this transfer window worse than the window Wenger only bought Czech? I'll answer that at the end of the window. The reason I'm not going crazy is because a lot tends to happen at the end of the window. It's not nice because as a fan, you want to see players come in early and go on tour and settle in. But you get to a point at the end of the window where it's like, oh, actually, I've got to sell this player. So I might take a little bit less than I was willing to, take earlier in the window. So I'm hoping there'll be a bit of a domino effect. But Mikel Merino, that deal is definitely well and truly on the rocks at the moment, people. So let's see what happens with that one. Fantasy code isn't there yet, bro. I'll set that up and I'll tell you all on Friday, and we'll have a bit of fun with that again. Right, let's move on. Aaron Ramsdale, Athletic. When Ornstein dropped something exclusive Arsenal, you're like, please just tell me we're signing someone. But no. Exclusive from Ornstein is that Arsenal have rejected an approach from Ajax to sign Aaron Ramsdale. Initial loan was turned down. Arsenal would rather the 26-year-old international leaves permanently this summer. Ajax retain an interest and an optimism that a deal can be done. Espanyol goalkeeper Juan Garcia would be the potential replacement that Arsenal have lined up if Ramsdale is to go. So, first of all, if any of you guys know much about Juan Garcia, feel free to get in the comments. Let me know. 23 years of age, Espanyol goalkeeper. And it doesn't look like he's played for Spain as of yet. I honestly don't know too much about him. So if you guys know more, feel free to let me know. I don't know how good he is. He's 6'3". And yeah, I honestly couldn't tell you much about him. He played for Spain in the Olympics. He was their goalkeeper during the Olympics. Ajax apparently wanted a loan with an option to buy. Arsenal want at least a loan with an obligation to buy, which seems to be the way round at the moment for everyone. I think you're going to see a lot of these deals in this window because what it does, it gives clubs another 12 months to figure out how they're going to make that money. So I suppose that my only problem with this deal is Ajax don't often, you look at the Dutch clubs, they don't pay big money for players. How much would they pay? You've got to at least get your money back at £30 million. Ramsdale's on 100, I think maybe even 110 grand a week. Are Ajax going to pay that much wages for a goalkeeper? I'm not sure. But apparently, according to this article, there is interest from Ramsdale in going to Ajax. So let's see. They're a massive football club. They didn't have a good season last year. It was a very, very poor season by their standards. And in fact, they've only qualified, I believe, for the Conference League. They finished 5th in the table last year. Didn't even make the top 4. Alkmaar, 20, Feyenoord and PSV. PSV won the league. So they're only in the Conference League. But Ajax is a big football club. Obviously, Jordan Henderson's there as well. So he'll know him from international duty. Yeah, I'm not sure. I just don't see Ajax going to 30 million for a goalkeeper and then giving him 100 grand a week. They're not notable. They're not notably a club that pay big money for players, but we'll see. Apparently, I always lean forward every time I'm ranting. Yo, I don't know. Maybe it's just I have to get close and just let you know it's something. Why can't I just come on here and do a stream and be like, we've signed Merino, we've made an offer for Gyökeres, and I want to come on here and be like, just chilling. I want to be leaning back in my chair. I want to be leaning back like this, going, yo, summertime, we've just bought this guy for 70 million. Instead, I'm leaning forward going, we can't even grab players at 29 million because we won't pay the money. And I don't get it. I want to enjoy the summer and the transfer window. Why am I vexed at the transfer window? It's crazy. I tell you, Arsenal, stressful club to support, man. Really stressful. Even when they're not playing, they cause stress. It's crazy. Edu, bro, I just don't know with this guy, really. I feel like I've let him off the hook, but nah. All eyes are on him right now and what he's doing, and I don't like it. Struggling to sell and very much struggling to buy. I expect much less from Arsenal on anything nowadays, and that's sad, isn't it? That's sad. We finished twice 2 years in a row. Every Arsenal fan should be sitting there going, yo, I expect top quality players to be coming through the door because we're chasing Man City. We can't turn round. At the end of last season, every Arsenal fan was saying, Man City are so good. They've got the best manager possibly ever. They've won 4 titles in a row. That should make Arsenal demand ambition and say the last thing, if we don't move forward, we will move backwards because other clubs will catch us up. Let alone catching Manchester City. I've seen a lot of people over the last few days, right? A lot of people are doing their predictions for the season. Who's going to win the league, top 4, blah, blah, blah. And a narrative that I'm seeing from a lot of people is oh, they think Man City will have a drop-off because, Edison nearly went to Saudi, Kyle Walker had a bad Euros, De Bruyne's in his 30s, blah, blah, blah. They think this Man City team's going to drop off. I'm like, cool. But to me, all that is to me is hoping. Because I look at last season. Last season was the year, if anything, where you would have expected the drop-off. Because they just won the treble. Their belly was full. So you would have said last year, they've just won the treble. They've won that first Champions League. Maybe we'll get the drop-off now. Kevin De Bruyne out injured for 6 months. Now we're going to get the drop-off, surely. De Bruyne's their best player, in my opinion. He's out for 6 months. They've just won the treble. They didn't have a great window last year with Kovacic and their man there. Were not amazing signings. That was supposed to be the drop-off. We'd spent 200 million. Was there a drop-off last year? They were just chilling last year. Man City were just kind of, okay, we're chilling. Get to December. They didn't lose a game in the Prem from December till the end of the season. That was supposed to be the drop-off year. If anything, I think this season will be harder than last year. Why? Because Kevin De Bruyne is fit, available. The guy's come back with a ponytail, bro. The guy's come back with a ponytail. Injury-free Kevin De Bruyne with a ginger ponytail, people. I'm telling you, he means business. Haaland scored 27 goals last year. He was out injured for 8 weeks. He didn't go to the Euros. He's fresh. He's banging in hat-tricks in pre-season. I'm telling you now, Man City don't... If we're waiting on a Man City drop-off to win the league, we're going to be waiting a long time. We have to focus on ourselves and step forward so that we go ahead of Manchester City. We can't sit around waiting for Man City drop-offs. It's not going to happen. City will get 90 points plus this year. Haaland, if he stays fit, will win the Golden Boot this year. Those are things that you can guarantee will happen. It's just the reality of the situation. The only way we win the league is if we do the business in the window. We go one step ahead of Manchester City. That's the only way. Emirates Cup champions. Hey guys, be excited. We're going big this year. Anyway, couple other stories before we get out of here. And I know what some of you will be thinking reading this story. Here he goes again. Ivan Toney. I've said it once, I'll say it again. It's not because I think he's world class. He's not world class. It's not because I think he'll win the Golden Boot or anything like that. What I purely think is Premier League experience, aggression, power, goals. He ticks the boxes for me. Now, Miguel Delaney again. Brentford are insisting on at least 60 million for Ivan Toney, but may be interested in a loan with an obligation to buy later on in the window, especially if Chelsea don't sign Victor Osimhen. Now, yeah, you can call me Tony's agent lawyer. I'm here, people. I'm here. I've said it before. There's 3 strikers on the market this summer. Arsenal have to sign one of them. Toney, Gyökeres or Osimhen. Osimhen, I've never fully been convinced about his talents, but I would hype him up if we signed him. Is he a £100 million player? Not in my opinion, but if he signs for us, I would hype him. Gyökeres looks brilliant, but it's 1 year in Portugal. Some of you guys have probably seen him play more than me, so I'm not sure. The 4th one is... The 3rd one, is Ivan Toney. Now, I'm sorry. If you can get Ivan Toney on loan with an obligation to buy next summer, I mean, Jay Dime, you're right. It makes so much sense. We will go absolutely nowhere near it. We'll go nowhere near this deal. This is how I would put it into reality. If you sell Eddie for, let's say you get 20 million, what they reckon Bournemouth might be willing to pay. If you get 20 million for Eddie and you get him on loan, and let's say you've got to pay 50 million or 60 million next summer. Let's say 50. It's basically Eddie plus 30 million for Ivan Toney. I mean, how much more of a bargain deal do you actually need? I don't get it. Oh, but his attitude wasn't great when they had a meeting with him. All right, cool. What could he have possibly said in that meeting that was so off-putting? I don't get it. What did he say? What bothered you so much? Mikel, not sure about that hair gel today. Oh no, get him out. Get him out. I don't know what the guy could have said. On obligation. Loan with an obligation. Crazy. But hey, we're not even mentioned in the story, so there's probably no point me talking about it for too long. They do not think creative financially to make this happen. They don't. They really don't. Snake Eye said, I'm Tony's super agent. He has Premier League experience. I know own issues with Tony is his behaviour, the swagger. Tony's like Aubameyang reincarnated. Yeah. John said Arteta's afraid of Yardman. Possibly. You don't want no jerk chicken on the training ground, man. I'm telling you. It was that tweet. Maybe he's still triggered by the tweet. Diaz to Man City. It's been denied. Story came out earlier, but it's been denied by both clubs, apparently. Callum, thank you for the super chat. Looking over our performances, we should have won the Prem because of that Doku penalty. That doesn't take away from when we messed up. I always think, though, Callum, you know, anything in life, and I've learned this sometimes the difficult way as well, if you can affect it positively, look at yourselves and then look at the circumstances around it. So we can all say, okay, Doku penalty against Liverpool should have been given when he studs McAllister in the chest. But I can say, what about Trossard 7 yards out against Emi Martinez on the volley? Put it either side of him, we probably win that game and potentially win the title. You hit it straight at him, we lose the game 2-0. So we have to take responsibility for ourselves. But I appreciate your comment. Jake said, see, any chance Arteta doesn't like Tony's age? I keep telling people, though, bro, the only other thing, Mikel Merino is 28. So how come we're happy to buy Merino at 28, but Tony at 28 is a no-go? Now, maybe, yeah, because Tony would cost 50, 60 million. Merino would cost maybe 30 million. So, listen, I'm not saying it has to be Tony. Let me make this abundantly clear, people. I think Tony is the one I would go for. But you go and sign Gyökeres, I'm happy. You go and sign Osimhen, I'm happy. I want a goal scorer through the door. Let me make that clear. It doesn't have to be Ivan Toney. I just think that one makes the most sense, and I think the transition's the easiest because the guy has played in the Premier League and scored 20 goals in a season. But we'll see. Elliot, sorry, Curtis, his shots per 90 ratio is worse than Havertz. They read the stats, and no top side is having Tony. I get that, but I don't... Listen, the only stat I'm interested in is how many goals do I think you can score. Now, for me, Havertz plays 38 games up front for Arsenal this season. Ivan Toney plays 38 games up front. Who scores more goals? And that's the only argument I'm interested in, to be honest. We create more chances than Brentford. We're a better team. I genuinely think he scores 20 league goals easily playing for Arsenal. I've said this for a long time since Aubameyang left. I don't think you need to be an amazing striker to play up front for Arsenal. If you're a good finisher, I think you will score goals in this Arsenal team. Odegaard is a fantastic creative midfielder. Saka's a good creator. Trossard's a very good creator. Martinelli is a bit more of a goal-scoring winger, but I think you're a decent striker. You put Watkins up front, you put Tony up front, you put Gyökeres, you put Osimhen, you put Isak. You put those guys up front, I reckon nearly all of them score 20 league goals. Simple. We create so many chances. H said Havertz scored 13 goals in half season up front. He did. He did. But he didn't score in a lot of the big games. That was my problem. I think you saw the same thing for Germany in the Euros. One-on-one, puts it over the bar against Spain. Bermuda Guna, Tony is too much like Yang. Well, I hear you. I hear you. Maybe his character goes against Arteta. DGVR Gaming Entertainment. Big up Curtis, great showing some great opinions. Appreciate that. Sad Gunner said, Ruud van Nistelrooy once said, Louis Saha brought so much energy to the side. Doesn't have to be the best striker. Exactly. Exactly. Gyökeres is the pace we need as a striker. Saw Havertz jogging on a through ball. Says Rowan. Snake Eyes. Tony gives us a different option as a striker. He is tall and link up is great. And MLK said we need 2 goalies, a 6, a winger, and a striker within 2 weeks. Probably 1 goalie. I think Setford will be third choice. And then Ramsdale or a new goalkeeper would be second choice. So that's where I think we're at with that. A couple of other stories before we round up the show. A player that I was very much... Another one that I said, I don't know why Arsenal are not interested in this guy. There were stories we were. Youssef Fofana, who was close to a move to AC Milan, but the deal appears to have collapsed. Manchester United are ready to make an important offer to sign Youssef Fofana that will match Monaco's demands. United are now leading the race, and this is Sky Sports reporting it. Another player Arsenal apparently were interested in, sent scouts to watch him, and looks as if he could be heading to Manchester United. I just don't understand. I am so confused about this window. It is unbelievable. I said at the start of this window is not a difficult window for Arsenal. Fofana, Merino, Fabian Ruiz. There are multiple midfielders that are not even very expensive that would improve our team. Get a striker. You know, Osimhen, Gyökeres, Tony, whoever. Get a winger, Elise, Neto, Nico Williams, and we're absolutely cooking. We can win the league if you get one of those 3 off each list. And we've gone nowhere near any of them so far. So, again, 25, French international, £30 million. Arsenal don't go anywhere near him. If it makes sense, Arsenal won't do it. Hopefully Merino is better mindful and hopefully we get that deal done. But again, you can't help but feel frustrated. Carl said find a Martinelli replacement instead. I'm going to be honest. I thought Martinelli was bang average last season. He looked like he'd gone backwards 2 years. I'm going to stick by him for another year. I'm not giving up on Martinelli FC. I still think there's a player there. And the good thing is you've got Trossard, who we can use in rotation. But I think it's a big year for Martinelli. Looks sharp in pre-season. I think that left-hand side of the team gets stronger if we do have... You maybe end up with Timber, Martinelli, and Merino as the triangle, or Calafiore, Martinelli, and Merino. I think he improves. 1 more year. If we're in this position in a year, then I think we have to ask questions. 100% agree with that. Finally, let's end on a bit of good news. But it's not transfer news. Martin Odegaard has been nominated as one of 6 players for the PFA Player of the Year. It's expected to be Phil Foden, who obviously won Premier League Player of the Year. But Phil Foden, Erling Haaland, Martin Odegaard, Cole Palmer, Rodri, and Ollie Watkins are the 6 players nominated. 3 Manchester City players and a player that Manchester City sold to Chelsea. So it shows their dominance from that point of view. But yeah, Martin Odegaard, congrats. This is nominated by the players as well, which I always think as a player, it's very important that your fellow professionals recognise your talent. And again, I've said it before, I think Martin Odegaard looks a better player if you put a better striker in front of him. Which is why I think we desperately need to get a striker in this window. But will it happen, people? Listen, I want to thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you hit the like button on the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. We're only a few hundred away from 80k, and then we want to hit 100k before the end of the season. Would you skydive? No. No. I ain't interested in them things, bro. You know what I mean? They look good. They look good on YouTube, but nah. Not for me, bro. Not for me. Big up to everyone locked in. As I said, we've got a busy week. I'll be back tomorrow at 2 o'clock. We're going to do a prediction video on Friday. So we'll predict who's going to win the league, top scorer, relegation, all of that stuff. We'll start the fantasy league as well. I'll give you all the code. I'll do an OG show, hopefully with Turkish. We'll do a member stream. We're doing the watch along on Saturday, Arsenal against Wolves. Unfortunately, it's a 3 o'clock kickoff. Which you know what that means. So, yeah, it's always very difficult to get live coverage of that in England. But we'll, VPN settings, we'll figure it out. So, people, enjoy your Tuesday. Take care. Hopefully, we'll sign some players. and I'll see you all at 2 p.m. tomorrow, people. Bless.